My sister-in-law is about to deliver a speech in French. She hasn't had the same privileged upbringing as us, so please, let's be patient with her, I requested, feeling the anticipation build in the room. All eyes turned to the groom, who appeared visibly flustered. I switched on the mic, hoping to ease his nerves. Congratulations on your marriage. Now, without further ado, let me proceed with my speech. I began as the room fell silent. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a fleeting glimpse of Emily's faint smile. With a deep breath, I launched into my speech in fluent French. Every now and then, I glanced over at the couple. Emily's frozen smile seemed somewhat out of place. As I worked in the fields, I spotted fresh rabbit tracks in the neighboring cornfield for the first time this year. Pausing my work, I locked eyes with a rabbit and its baby, the mother feeding on grass with its tiny offspring. It was truly heartwarming. "Oh, how cute. It's that time of year already, isn't it?" I exclaimed. I introduced myself as Sarah, currently 30 years old, planting corn in a carefully prepared field. The farming work was monotonous, often making me lose track of time. As evening approached, I decided to call it a day, exchanging nods with a familiar farmer also preparing to head home. Living off a mix of farming and part-time jobs started when my parents were killed in an accident during my middle school years, leaving me and my younger brother, Jason, in the care of our maternal grandparents. Despite their kindness, our grandmother's frailty and frequent illness added strain to our lives. Our grandfather, though brave and supportive, seemed worn out from shouldering responsibilities. With our grandmother's uncertain health, I chose not to pursue high school, instead working to support Jason's education. He eventually secured a spot at Harvard University, and I attended his college orientation, filled with tears of relief. Years passed, and our grandparents retired, prioritizing each other's care. Today, after work, I plan to visit them, knowing how precious these moments were, especially for Jason, who rarely had the chance to see them due to his job. As I parked my car and opened the slightly old door, the darkness enveloped me, signaling the end of another day's labor. "Welcome home, Sarah," echoed through the house as I stepped inside. "Hey, Sarah's back," I heard from the back, followed by the sound of quiet footsteps. "Sarah, you look well. You haven't had dinner yet, right? It's ready. Why don't you join us?" "It's been a while," said my grandparents in unison, their warmth enveloping me. "I'm hungry," I admitted, and both of them welcomed me with smiles. Though I'd been away from this house for many years, the comfort of my childhood home was irreplaceable. As we sat down to dinner, catching up and making small talk, the phone rang. "Who could it be at this hour?" "Should I get it?" I asked. "No, it's fine, Sarah. Just sit down and eat your dinner," insisted my grandmother as she answered the phone. Oh, it's been a while, hasn't it? I'm fine. How about you?" "Oh, really? Congratulations, that's great. Oh, wait, let me get Grandpa on the phone." I immediately sensed it was Jason on the other end of the line. The phone was passed to my grandfather, who also seemed to enjoy the conversation. "Sarah, you should also talk to him," my grandmother urged. "It's okay. I can talk to Jason anytime," I replied, but my grandfather insisted, handing me the phone with a happy look on his face. Surprised by Jason's voice, louder and more energetic than I'd expected, I gasped a bit. "Long time no see, Jason." "I'm good. You startled me with your loud voice, but I'm glad you sound well." "Hey, what am I, chopped liver?" Jason joked. "Grandpa and Grandma just have poor hearing." I couldn't help but smile and chuckle. "That's so like you, Jason. So you occasionally call like this, huh?" "No, it's been a while since I last called. I had something to tell you," Jason explained. "Something to tell?" "Yeah, I've already told Grandpa and Grandma, but I'm headed overseas for work." "What? That's amazing. So they chose you, Jason," I exclaimed. "Well, it's not that big of a deal, but you know, it's all thanks to you, sis." "Thank you," Jason replied gratefully. "What do you mean? It's all because you worked hard, Jason." "So, was this call to tell me you won't be able to return home for a while?" I asked. "There's one more thing, actually. I'm getting married at the same time too," Jason revealed. "Really? Congratulations. I'm so happy for you," I exclaimed. I really wanted to introduce her to you sooner, but I've been too busy with work these past few years. That's why I had to tell you on the phone like this." "That's all right. Being busy is a good thing," I assured him. "Thanks, sis. So, my assignment is in Paris. I'll be living there for the foreseeable future. We're thinking of holding the wedding there. So, come over with Grandpa and Grandma. I'll cover the travel expenses, of course." "Paris. When I glanced at my grandparents, they were beaming, perhaps thrilled for Jason. But a wave of worry washed over me. Taking the elderly couple on such a trip might be too much for them. Jason, I mean, I'd love to go, but taking these two. I trailed off, my concern evident. I know it would be bad if something happened. I wanted them there for the special moment. Oh, then I'll come over before the wedding. When's your next day off, sis? Jason inquired. I have tomorrow off, but after that, I replied. Got it. Then I'll bring her over tomorrow. Let Grandpa and Grandma know. What? Wait, that's pretty short notice, Jason noted. Wait, did you have some plans, sis? He asked. Not really, but mental preparation. You don't need that. She's a really nice girl. I'm sure you'll like her, Jason assured me hastily. Oh, I've got to get back to work. Can you tell them bye? The call ended abruptly, leaving me hanging up reluctantly. I see Jason's getting married. That's wonderful, Grandma remarked, her eyes sparkling with joy. That's right, he used to be so small. I'm so happy for him. Oh, Sarah, is the call over? What did Jason say about that? He's bringing his fiancée over tomorrow, I explained, still a bit surprised by the sudden turn of events. I see. At our age, it's hard on the heart to fly indeed. But if we can see Jason again after so long, let's make a feast tomorrow, Grandpa suggested, his tone filled with excitement. Jason has always been smart, but he's always been restless, always thinking on the run, so to speak, Grandma reminisced. Well, it's good that he's found someone who can support him. Let's celebrate tomorrow, then. I'll come over early tomorrow and help with the cooking. With that settled, I started eating the remaining dinner that had been left untouched. The next day, despite being a habitual late riser, especially on days off, I woke up early and headed to my grandparents' house. Despite it only being midday, they were already busy preparing for the visitors. As evening arrived, the sound of the sliding door opening echoed through the house. I stepped into the house, greeted by Jason's vibrant voice, followed by a softer, reserved one. Hello there, I heard as I approached. There stood my brother, whom I hadn't seen in a while, alongside a lovely lady. Ah, sis, long time no see. Let me introduce you to the woman I'm going to marry. I'm Emily. Nice to meet you, she said with a warm smile. Oh, I'm Sarah, Jason's sister. It's so nice to meet you, Emily, I replied, extending my hand. Emily and I shook hands, welcoming the couple into the house. Emily greeted our grandparents warmly, her laughter filling the room. She was outgoing and quickly became friendly with them. As we sat around the dinner table, Emily suddenly asked me a question. So, sister-in-law, you're a fan of lemon on your shrimp, huh? Oh yes, I always have been. Really? I responded. Me too. This is the first time I've met someone else who likes it the same way. I'm so happy, Emily exclaimed. Her cheerful conversation made her easy to talk to, and we chatted and laughed together. However, I couldn't help but notice Emily's gaze on me whenever I was talking with others or had to leave my seat for the restroom. I brushed it off, thinking it was perhaps poor eyesight or just the way she looked at people. Today wasn't the day to worry about it. We were here to celebrate Jason's upcoming marriage. The conversation shifted to Jason's future Southeast assignment, and from there, I learned that Emily had lived in Paris during her junior high school years. That should make adjusting to life there and any culture shocks easier, right? I asked. Yes, indeed. The city might look a bit different now, but I think I can manage living in Paris. Plus, I'm really happy to have the wedding in my second hometown, Emily replied with a smile. All of this, including Jason's overseas assignment and meeting Emily, filled me with a sense of joy and anticipation for the future. I owe it to you, sis. It's all because you encouraged me to go to school back then. I can't thank you enough, Jason expressed gratefully, his words humbling me. But Jason kept thanking me throughout the day. Stop. Come on. Like I always tell you, it's all because you worked hard, Jason. I insisted. But sis, I wouldn't be who I am today if you hadn't done everything for me, Jason persisted. Oh, I remember now. I'd like to ask you to give a speech at the wedding, he suddenly said. Me? Well, it is your important day. If you want me to, I'll do it, I agreed. Really? That's great. Looking forward to it. Don't set the bar too high, Jason joked. Even at that moment, I felt Emily's gaze on me. However, the dinner went smoothly, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Time flew by, and before I knew it, it was the day of Jason's wedding. From the day I was asked, I had been rehearsing the carefully crafted speech for Jason's big day. As I headed to the venue, I mentally read through the speech, preparing to deliver my brother's once-in-a-lifetime speech. When we arrived at the ceremony venue, I decided to check on Jason first, heading towards the groom's waiting room. As I opened the door, I was surprised to see Jason still in his everyday clothes. "Oh, big sis, thanks for coming. Was it hot outside?" he asked. "Yeah, I was taken aback by the heat, but I'm fine. More importantly, you haven't dressed up yet. I was looking forward to seeing you in a tuxedo," I teased. "You're too eager. We still have plenty of time," Jason reassured me. As we chatted for a bit, I heard the door open. Turning around, I saw Emily, the bride, standing there. I tried to greet her, but she cut me off, a knowing look in her eyes. "You made it here all by yourself, sister-in-law. I heard you didn't go to high school, so I was worried about you," she blurted out loudly, leaving me taken aback in the quiet waiting room. "Huh?" Jason stepped in front of me, confronting Emily. "Hey, what the heck? Stop it, Emily." "I was just expressing my concern. Why are you blaming me?" Emily whimpered, facing the furious Jason. I watched this unfold and promptly stepped between Jason and Emily. "Don't get mad, Jason. I'm fine. Today is an important day, right?" "If you say so, sis." Jason relented, and the situation settled down. Emily, on the verge of tears over the smallest thing, struck me as someone who always needed to be the center of attention. Throughout Jason's dating history, some of his girlfriends had been jealous of the bond between us siblings. With that experience, I maintained my composure as I observed Jason comforting Emily until her tears subsided. Intending to leave early to find my seat and rehearse my speech, I began to step away. However, just as I was about to go, Emily, who had been crying moments before, flashed me a smile. "Oh, and please do your speech in French so everyone can understand it," she said, giggling. I was left dumbfounded. "No, sis, you don't have to do that, Emily. Don't say such things," Jason chimed in quickly. At that, Emily's face crumpled as if she were about to cry again. "It's okay, Jason, I understand. I'll practice," I reassured her, trying to ease the tension. Emily cracked a small, cunning smile, but I quickly left the scene. The wedding began, and seeing Jason being showered with blessings, looking so content, made me genuinely happy. As the ceremony continued, before I knew it, it was my turn to speak. Standing nervously before the mic, I was about to start my speech when a voice echoed from a different mic. "My sister-in-law is going to give a speech in French. She hasn't been brought up in the same kind of educated environment as us, so please be patient with her." Upon hearing this, the room buzzed with anticipation. All eyes turned to the groom, who was visibly flustered. I switched on the mic, hoping to put him at ease. "Congratulations on your marriage. Now, without further ado, let me proceed with my speech," I began, as the room fell silent. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a fleeting glimpse of Emily's faint smile, then began my speech in fluent French. Every now and then, I glanced over at the couple. Emily's frozen smile seemed somewhat out of place. "Why, how?" Recalling my past, I remembered a time when I once worked part-time in agriculture. We hosted a French man who was interning there, 5 years older than me. He was kind and always thoughtful, and I secretly had a crush on him. Looking back, it was my youthful days, eager to deepen my friendship with him despite the language barrier. I borrowed my friend's school French textbook and studied diligently. At first, our conversations were awkward, but eventually, I became capable of casual conversation in French. As my jokes during the speech set the room roaring with laughter, I noticed Emily seemed completely lost. I figured she'd probably forgotten her French after so long abroad. Moreover, her 3 years of middle school overseas had taught her that unless you're keen on learning, you can get by with just gestures and vibes. Just as it's hard for a child to understand what adults talk about, it seemed unlikely Emily understood everything that was happening. As my speech drew to a close, I saw Jason deeply moved, crying beside her, Emily clueless as to why he was crying. As I finished speaking, the room erupted into applause. Emily, who still had no clue what was happening, started clapping along. When I asked, "Was that okay?" in French, she fell silent, her face flushed with frustration. Seeing this, the crowd, including the guests, clapped even more. As I was returning to my seat, I heard Emily's sharp voice. "Excuse me, isn't it time for me to change into my next outfit? Why do I know the schedule better than you all? Can't you do your job? Hurry up." Perhaps she was irritated with me. Emily's tirade against the staff and her behavior towards everyone else remained terrible until the end. But somehow, the wedding concluded without a hitch. Back home in Louisiana, I showed my grandparents the wedding photos and videos, and they were thrilled. Even now, months later, they sometimes look back at them, shedding tears of joy. Meanwhile, Jason, who moved abroad, started calling more often than before, and the bond between his siblings grew stronger. According to him, many of the guests at the wedding had seen Emily's malicious behavior and arrogant attitude towards me and had grown to despise her. Emily's reputation, built up over the years, took a nosedive, and her friends began to drift away. Then, Emily started blaming Jason for everything, crying, throwing tantrums, and worst of all, she started to verbally abuse Jason on a regular basis. Having lost all hope for Emily, Jason was now working on a divorce. A few months later, as usual, I went to see my grandparents, had dinner with them, and the three of us were chatting about recent happenings. Suddenly, the sound of the front door opening resonated, followed by, "I'm home." I quickly ran to the door. "What? Jason, why are you not in Paris?" I exclaimed. "Oh, sis, you're here too. Perfect timing. And seriously, even if this place is in the middle of nowhere, you should keep the doors locked," Jason replied. "Oh, Jason, welcome back. Paris? Are you done over there?" I asked. "No, I'm still living in Paris, but I had a business trip to New Orleans, so I decided to swing by." "Oh, that smells good. I'm hungry," Jason said. "Well then, come over here and eat, Jason. Guess what? Jason's back." Seeing Jason for the first time in a while, my grandparents were happy, their voices naturally rising, and they surrounded the hungry Jason with flying conversations. Amidst all this, I was worried about this think of the run type of Jason. "Jason, it's totally fine that you suddenly came back, but are you okay with your own family matters?" I asked, my voice somewhat loud. Startled by my voice, Jason flinched but immediately turned towards me, straightening his posture a bit. "About that, actually, the divorce has been finalized, so I wanted to tell you that in person. I'm really sorry for causing you distress. You've always been there for me, and I didn't mean for this to hurt you." "I'm sorry," Jason apologized sincerely. "Well, if that's the case, you don't have to be so formal about it. It's all in the past now," I reassured him. "No, but I hurt you too, sis. I'm really sorry," Jason insisted, his voice on the brink of tears. After that, Jason insisted that he was fully responsible for making me feel bad. With tears welling up in his eyes, he muttered, "You're really the best, sis."